Evening, Floyd. How are you doing? Technology. Thank you.
Well, that's what traditionally
No, I paid for
We'll call tonight's meeting of the Floyd City Council to order. Mandy, would you take a roll call, please?
Raymond Pronto,
Present.
Kent Miller,
Present.
Lee McMillan,
Here.
Tony Gingler,
Yes.
Matt Audie,
Here.
Lloyd Luttrell,
Present.
Andrew Grabon.
Present.
Thank you. If you'll stand with me for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us have the opportunity to gather to represent our community this evening. Give us be in the right mind that we can make the good decisions for our community. Be with our staff and our new administrator as we move forward, and be with our employees and protect them as they go about their work on a daily basis. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Andrew, do you have anything?
Not this time.
Raymond?
Oh, thank you, sir.
Rebuttal?
No, they did get the signs up along my street there where they were asking for the children, or the Slid for Children signs or whatever there, but I want to thank everybody for getting them up and look good, so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Ken? Matt? Lloyd?
I just want to bring up that I have to see the fountain functional,
Yeah. Always nice to see that in operation.
and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Katie, do you have anything at this time?
Not this time, thank you.
Thank you. Jason, do you have anything at this time?
Nope, I guess just we have our audit report here today, so.
Okay. We'll turn it over to Jay Langley and visit with us about our audit.
Don't mind I've come up here so I don't drop everything. I appreciate coming this evening. I always kind of like to visit with the city councils and point out things that are in the audit report, point out the important things that I'd like you to know where they're at in case you're asked by citizens and have a basic idea of what the audit report contains. But I'm going to refer to page numbers or footnote numbers and kind of just briefly walk through the audit report. I promise I won't go over every number of every page. But on page 2, the top of the page, we give two different headings on your audit report. One that's on the previous page just says that we make sure that the reader knows that these financial statements are not prepared according to general accepted accounting principles, but you have adopted what's referred to as KMAG, which is Kansas Municipal Accounting and Auditing Guidelines. So under those guidelines, the first paragraph on page 2 refers to the fact that the information that's in your books and that we're reporting on is in all material respects accurate and is a fair presentation of what the balances were and liabilities and revenues and expenses for the year ending December 31st of 2015. And that's in that first paragraph. So there's a lot more on there. The next paragraph down on supplemental information just states that there's a lot more information in here that we're not required to give an opinion on, but we let the reader know that anything after the footnotes is still something that we do testing on and we verify that it's accurate. So an opinion is basically on the very next page, which is page 3, and everything after footnotes is supplemental. So I am going to go to that very next page on page 3. This is an overview and probably the most important page of the audit report because it shows you all the funds and the amounts of money that you have authority over and that you have responsibility for. The funds are listed along the left-hand side of the page, and it goes through your beginning unencumbered balance, your receipts, expenditures, ending unencumbered balance, which is that fourth column over. Then we add back in all the payables that you have at the end of the year, and the reason for that is to come up with the actual cash you have in the banks, reconcile, so that you can see those are two different distinct balances there. But if you look at the beginning unencumbered cash balance just for the cities, which is the governmental type, not including the library, you'll notice that at the first of the year you started with $3,673,000. And you have revenues of $16 million and expenditures of $15 million some. And you had an ending unencumbered cash balance of $4,723,295. That's actually a million, in excess of $1,050,000 increase in unencumbered cash balance. Putting that into perspective, you did issue a bond during 2015, and that bond was a capital project that you had going on. There was a temporary bond, and you refunded that in 2016. So a big influx of that money came from that bond issue. But you did have an increase in the water pollution control plant and equipment replacement fund of $79,000 in excess. Equipment, electrical plant and equipment replacement fund, an increase of $149,085. Your capital improvement fund increased $155,000. Your capital project fund, which is where that bond money went into, the ending balance in that was $555,000 higher than it was the year before. And then your electric utility went up $222,000. So you've had some healthy growth in some funds that came from other than just the bond issue. So that's good in light of the financial condition in Kansas right now. Following that page, I'd like to call your attention to, on that page 3, you'll notice that none of those balances are negative balances. The ending cash figure, they're all positive figures, so you have no cash basis violations. That's one main thing that Kansas looks for, and Randy, so she's proud that she has no cash basis violations. So we do have to report on that. Going on to that next page, that's where the footnotes start. I'm going to call your attention to footnote number 4, which is on page 6. Very top, let's see. Okay, it's under the note 4, it's the next to the last paragraph and the last paragraph. We'll report on the city's money that's being carried at the end of the year and throughout the year, and then also on the library. The purpose of that footnote is to say that we tested the balance of those accounts throughout the year and the end of the year to make sure that they were always insured by either FDIC insurance or pledged securities or some other method of securing those. And this footnote says that those were fully secured throughout the year and the end of the year. So that's something that's very important in Kansas, and your city was in very good condition there. Note number 5, which is down below there, just calls your attention to the fact that you do have what's called the Beloit Trail Commission, and that money is money that's being held within the Parks and Recreation Fund, and that is actually administered by a group other than the city council, but it's under your funds and it's accounted for in here. So just bring your attention to that. Note number 7 on page 8 is probably the highlight of what I wanted to call your attention to this evening. This is a new footnote. It's probably not brand new news to you, but it's the first time it's been in this audit report. Actually, I'm going to take you to the very first paragraph on page 8. Describes a footnote where we're talking about capers. The state has hired a group of actuaries to take every municipal entity, school district in the state of Kansas and calculate what their liability will be in the future based on their census of employees and length of service. And they come up with a figure, and it's a year old, and it will always be a year old, but it will always be coming to you. You get a letter in the mail from the state, and we also get a letter. Just calling your attention to that as of December 31st, our disclosure shows $1,964,078 for the city, $65,731. That is the liability of these entities. Part of that is funded, and I believe, you can see school districts, I'm familiar with how much of that's funded, but cities, a big part of that is not funded because it has not developed and gone as far as it should as far as investment return, and also the funding of the state. And as you know, they have not made their last payment this year. It's one of the ones they delayed. And with the state of the finances of the state, there's some concern there. But we are required to let your city readers know that you have potentially a liability. Theoretically, this should be taken care of. But if it doesn't get funded somehow, either by the state or increase of revenue within that CAPERS fund, we don't know what's going to happen with that unfunded portion. So we're disclosing it on your records so that the reader knows there's a contingent liability here. So that is something that we're stating. It will be in every audited report until they change the law, but it is required to be in there. And it is an important disclosure. I've asked several legislators what the purpose of it is in their mind. I said, will you ever look to the entities to make up that difference themselves? They said, we don't know. It may come to that someday. Hopefully the state will step up and fix it. They're working on it every year, how to fix the CAPERS fund. Going on, note number 12 on page 9 is just a quick review. The bond issue I mentioned was paving improvements on the North Campus Edition and the Silver Fox Estates. The project authorization amount was $1.9 million, and as of the end of the year, $1,053,000 had been spent on that project. So you were quite a ways along on that, but that difference is what made up one of those balances I gave you earlier, that you haven't spent some of the cash. Down below that footnote is subsequent events, and this just lets the reader know what's happened after the year end that might affect their thoughts about the city. We just point out that in February 8th, a city entered into a lease agreement on some radios. Also March 1, 2006, there was a GEO electric utility system refunding bond that was issued. And then on June 23rd, there was a issued general obligation bond, and part of that was used to reduce or pay off that temporary note you issued in 2015. And then there was some extra money that was used, and that will be used on street projects on East Main, North Campus, and Silver Fox Station. Note number 14, which is the next 2 pages, are important because the first page on page 10 is a listing of all of your long-term debt and capital leases. And the top part is the revolving loans or GEO bonds or revenue bonds, and the last section is capital leases. You have the one new note, the 2015 temporary note of $1,650,000. You also have a new operating or capital leases for 2 new Ford Explorers, and that's the very bottom figure. You also reduced your debt. If you looked at the third column over on the numbers, you reduced the principal portion by $819,807, and then that very last column to the left shows how much interest you paid, in excess of $370,000. The very last the next page shows when that debt comes due. That's a maturity schedule. So if you have a citizen that asks you when all this gets paid off, you can tell we have to give 5 years separate, and then we go in groups of 5 until it's paid off. So you can kind of see what your debt service will be as you go along. The next page after that, on page 12, shows the amount of the interest that will be paid on those loans. That first page that we looked at was the principal portion. This is interest. The other thing that Mandy always looks to is her, whether or not she had any budget violations. On page 13 is where we take all of your budget figures for each fund that we approve, and then we adjust those by any budget credits that we might see, if you got refunds or miscellaneous income that you were budgeted for. We come up with a new adjusted budget, we compare that with your expenditures, and you'll notice all those figures are negative, and that means you had no budget violations. So that's the other thing that's important. From that point, page 14 through 32 are the individual funds. If there's any fund that you're particularly interested in, whether it's a capital project fund or bond and interest or a general fund, you can look there and you will see the prior year, the current year, your budget, whether it's over and under, all of it. I won't go through each one of those, but there are several pages there. On page 33, there's a fund that we refer to as an agency fund, and that is your cemetery endowment fund. That is money that you have authority over, and you're to maintain that, and look over that, but fiduciarily, that money belongs to someone else. And that belongs to the cemetery people, and you use it for that reason, and there's statutes, and we've worked on that in years past. The very last page is the library. We audit that, and we're here because the city has asked us to do that over the years. And so we brought their books in and audited that also on what they included. It's what is referred to as a component unit of the city. And so that's why that's included in your audit report. Other than that, I would like to say that the only thing that we always do is we take a look at the things we talked about in the prior year recommendations. And I'm always glad to say, my list is a lot shorter than it was in the past. And so everything is improving. The one thing we continue to say is in years past, we commented on the fact that at the end of each month, you have a general ledger cash balance that comes down to, and your bank reconciliation has been different than that. We'd like to see those two things always equal exactly. And I know you have an outside person that does that, but there's still variances, a lot smaller than they used to be. So it's not a situation that we call that a significant deficiency or material deficiency, but it's something we'd like to see continual improvement on. It's come a long ways as far as being improved, but we'd like to see that just balance each month. And so if they can work towards getting that, that would be great. And that's our only comment of potential. I always try to have something that we recommend to improve, but that's what we probably recommend this year. But we made great strides to improve that over last year. Glad to answer any questions that you might have.
I have one about what's in here, but I think it might be a Mandy's question. The address that they have on the notes, the number 1 note on page 4, it says 311 West Main. Does the library still have an office there?
Oh, no, I never even thought about that. They probably didn't even know that their address changed.
That's my guess.
I knew you had a new library, but the last time I went over to get the books into the old libraries, they've been delivered here since then. So I will update that. I appreciate that very much.
I do have one question. What is it that you're seeing that caused those variances between the monthly? What's the driving force?
It could be things like chargebacks on utilities. I believe you have utilities that are collected through, you can pay online or with credit card. So you may see credit card charges or chargebacks or things that might not get caught easily. if everything came in the front door, you posted it, make deposits, and then also your checks are electronic in a lot of cases, but mainly it'll probably be utility collections, I would hazard to say.
Mhm.
Mandy?
Yeah, and we found a lot of things where on the utility side, on the receipts, like all of our payables always zero. Our deposits on our receipt side, the general receipts is what we call them, are always zero. We can always find it. Every great once in a while we found like a wrong general ledger, like in the water protection fee from years back. It took a long time to find it, but we found it. And then there's, certain old accounts that had, and the utilities, which is harder to find. And it's always just that little thing that it nags at you every month, but we find them eventually.
Because of your software, the best example I can give, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. You have
Yeah.
to really search hard to see where the variance is. But other cities do it. It could be a software problem, but it's something we'll continue to comment on. Because in accounting, an accountant can't sleep at night unless it balances.
For every debit, there's also a credit.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jay? No, thank you.
Your staff is doing a very good job, and they answer a lot of questions when we're here. They go and find a lot of stuff for us, so we appreciate that.
Thank you for those comments. We're proud of them also. Next item on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda for September the 6th, council meeting minutes and appropriations 9B.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
Motion is made by Councilman Audi that we approve the consent agenda in its entirety, and seconded by Councilman Ponto. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. Mandy, would you take a roll call vote on that, please?
McMillan,
Yes.
Gingler,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Audi,
Yes.
Graybon,
Yes.
Latrell,
Yes.
Ponto.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda this evening, we have no ordinances or resolutions. We'll go to formal action. And the first item on the agenda is the East Main Street bid. From Pavers in the amount of $1,440,337.89. You guys have any questions for staff or for Stuart Porter or Schwab Eaton is here this evening? Stuart,
I guess my only question, I just had a concern when you see a variance of 1.4 to 2.1 million in bids. Is there anything to worry about there, or did somebody just way overpriced basically?
The $2 million bid that you saw was what I believe to be a token bid. We didn't receive very many phone calls from them during the bidding process. Actually, we weren't expecting their bid. So, and we get those from time to time. No, I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. We had a lot of questions from the lowest two bids.
looks like we got a pretty good bid this time, Stuart.
Yes.
A lot better than we was on the A14 project, we was always going over on that.
There are a couple of differences between those projects. One is, exactly, they're out of Salina.
That's the line.
Thank you, Stuart. Is there any other questions?
Motion to approve the construction bid for East Main from Pavers Inc. in the amount of 1.440337.89.
Motion by Councilman Graybon to approve the East Main bid from Pavers Incorporated in the amount of $1,440,337.89. Second by Councilman Miller. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Is there a projected beginning and ending date on that?
Stuart, what was the projected start date on that?
Projected somewhere around the middle of November, but not until K-14 is open to traffic.
And then we're shooting for Memorial Day for.
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda this evening is the trash removal bid. And the low bid was from Heisro Trash Service, the amount of $12.68 per residential unit, started January 1st, 2017. Council have any questions for staff?
I was personally suggesting you wanted to address the council. Do you still want to address the council? Sure do.
Sure. Come on up, Ken.
Well, I guess the biggest thing, it's a tonnage issue is where we're at, and none of us really know exactly where the tonnage is at. The way we came up with our bid is we took, the county told us that they were at $45 per ton on their trash bid, and they were going to $70 on their intake fee. So we took what the city was charging $8, and we took it times the percentage, and that's how we came up with our bid of 1860.
They also, can I say?
$12 and something for the, $12 and something.
Yeah, for the
Trash, I mean, or the.
$12.40 for the trash. For the handling of the trash, our pickup fee didn't go up. You know, it's been argued and hashed around, is the tonnage justify that? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. The bottom line is, there has to be a little fluff there. There has to be, because we if things go, we can't be wrong. We don't have taxes to cover our tail, you know.
I don't know, did everyone get a copy of that?
Yes.
We tried to reach most of you, I think, Mr. Luttrell, I don't know if we.
I found it there. Still good to go.
Anyway, the trash is increasing, it seems like, so it has every year so far, so it's hard to be able to project what it's gonna be, especially if the way that trash is picked up changes and different things are accepted. There's no way of knowing how much the tonnage is gonna increase, so we made sure that our bid was enough to cover whatever that increase would be, and then we compared to other cities who have this similar type of, the way they do it through a transfer station and then onto a landfill, and we feel like we're pretty in line with them as well. So
At the end of the day, the bottom line is that trash has to leave your curb and end up in Topeka off of the number that the trash hauler charges. And
if $14 isn't enough right now,
if $14 isn't enough for the county, I don't know how it could be at $12. You know, I mean, the county says it's not enough. That's what they told us. That's what the reason for all this is. They were getting out of it because they didn't want to raise the rate. They were putting the monkey on somebody else's back.
I believe the term they used in the city council meeting was they were hemorrhaging money.
Yeah. The
commissioner meeting, sorry, yeah.
They were tapping into their tax base to cover that cost. You can stretch the math. I mean, you can pick a number and stretch the math and make the other bid work, but it's a stretch. It's absolutely a stretch. Nobody needs to go broke in this business. That's a bad idea, you know. Company has to prosper in order to proceed on, and we think we're okay on that number. And I really.
When you go to the landfill with your truck, do they weigh each load individually, or do they say that truck holds X number of tons?
They do. They weigh us as we go to the transfer station here in Beloit. Yep. They weigh it, but there's that factor of how many dumpsters did we dump on that thing? How, did you go to Hubbard Feed? Did they throw away a bunch of feed to start with for the day? You know, that number varies constantly.
We start Wednesday with half a truckload of Copper City on it from the day before sometimes, so. And then we may not dump the truck we finished with Thursday afternoon on Beloit route. We may not dump it until Saturday, so. I mean, there's no real way of, because we
The
have
truck's sitting there
we have to
this
run 2
evening.
trucks to keep up.
The
so.
truck's sitting there this evening, had an oil leak yesterday, so we pulled it in the shop, we didn't get it dumped. And he'll start tomorrow morning on the east end of town with about 3/4 of a load of trash. We couldn't get to the landfill in time to dump it today.
And that has some stuff from the lake on it.
Yeah, so I mean,
But I guess
that's what
my-
we're up against.
I guess my question is, each truckload that goes to the landfill is weighed,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then you're billed accordingly.
According to that.
I didn't know whether it was.
And see, and then we'll have